My 25 female stepsister, 23 female, is getting married to my ex, 26 male. We were as close as any two sisters growing up. My mom and her dad met when we were 8 and 6, and we got along really well from the get-go. My ex-boyfriend and I broke up 2 years ago. He cheated on me and I found out about it a week after he proposed to me. 5 to 6 months later, stepsister told me that she and ex-boyfriend have started dating. I couldn't believe my ears. I was very angry at her, but the rest of the family, mom, stepdad, 2 half-sisters, didn't think it was a betrayal at all, and my mom once yelled at me to grow up and to move on. I gradually distanced myself from my stepsister, without making a fuss. I just poured myself into my studies instead, and hid behind the "I'm swamped" excuse. I started dating my current boyfriend, 25 male, about 10 months ago. The only problem is that stepsister used to have a huge crush on him, and she still, to this day, texts and DM him. They never dated. I haven't told anyone in my family that I'm seeing someone. Stepsister and ex-boyfriend got engaged and they have sent the wedding invitations last month, wedding in June. I did an RSVP because I don't want to attend. Last week, my mom asked me to visit. When I got there, mom was waiting with stepsister, her BFF, and maid of honor, my half-sisters, and ex-boyfriend's sister. It was an intervention. My mom started by saying that I needed to stop alienating myself from everybody and get over the hurt. Stepsister is getting married and she wanted me as a bridesmaid. I told them no. Stepsister started crying, saying I'm ruining her wedding. She asked if it has to do with me not having a +1, because she could pair me with one of ex-boyfriend's single best men, and I wouldn't feel lonely then. I got really angry and told her I didn't want to go to her wedding because I don't like her. She started crying again, calling me bitter and a hag for purposefully wanting to hurt her on her big day. I left. My mom called me later saying if I didn't at least show up as a guest, I'm cut off from the whole family. You see, they need me there so people see there's no hard feelings between us and that I have blessed their marriage because she has been getting a whole lot of crap from the family for what she did to me. I'm so angry now. What's between stepsister and I is broken beyond repair. Why is it so hard for them to understand? Plus, I do have a +1 should I decide to turn up, and stepsister would regret the day she invited me then. I have a half a mind to do it and ruin her day. I love my mom and my sisters, but I'm tired of them choosing my stepsister's side. And I know my mom is serious that she would cut me off if I didn't attend. She loves my stepdad very much, and upsetting stepsister means upsetting him. Any advice on how to tackle this? Because however I turned it, I am the loser. Please, don't give in and go. They're desperate to have you there because what she did was socially unacceptable, and in order to not look like she was involved with him prior to your breakup, as a backstabbing sister, she needs you to turn up with a smile and prove it's okay. But don't, because it's not. And I doubt very much that they'll cut you off if they're this desperate for you to forgive them. Treat yourself to an amazing vacation on the day of her wedding. If your mother would cut you off, let them. I'm curious why your mom thinks the rest of the family would cut you off if they've been giving your stepsister a hard time just because she says so. Honestly, skip the wedding, and don't let your mom be the intermediary between you and the rest of the family. Get their contact info and share yours. Get their contact info and share yours with ones you trust and stay in contact with them that way. I, 42 female, spoil my nephew Chris and spend a lot of time with him. Chris is my late sister's son. My sister died when he was 5 after a heart attack as she had an undetected heart condition. Chris spends a lot of time at our house where my parents, his grandparents, husband, 2 daughters, and 2 sons also live. Chris has his own room in my house and has his own set of keys. He comes and goes as he pleases. Chris also has a great bond with his cousins, who all consider him their brother. As far as my husband and I go, he's also our son and is included into everything we do with and for our kids. He goes with us on all our vacations, and this year, my husband and I bought him a car for his 16th, just as we did when our eldest son turned 16. My parents and I also plan on paying his way through college, same as his cousins, since ex-brother-in-law could never afford it. Ex-brother-in-law wants me to include his other kids, 2 teenage stepsons and his 2 boys and daughter with his wife, into our time with him. His older kids often get jealous of all the attention and money we spend on Chris, and his wife feels like we're driving a wedge between the kids. Especially as their oldest son, Tom, also wants a car, but again, ex-brother-in-law and wife can't afford it. They want me to make Chris share his car with Tom. I told him I would not persuade Chris to share. I'm not even going to lie, but I don't like ex-brother-in-law. I certainly don't like his wife, and their kids are obnoxious, mean little stinks. But I obviously never treat them in an unkind manner, and I don't allow Chris to speak to them or about them in a disrespectful manner. Even though I know they all constantly exclude Chris, purposely, break his things, and make him feel like an outsider. I don't feel like it's my responsibility to consider the other kids ex-brother-in-law has, and at the moment, I don't know how to deal with the situation, and any advice to make Chris's life more comfortable, I'd love to hear. Ask your nephew if he wants to live with you full-time. I mean, you're providing for him, basically raising him, etc. He's made to feel like an outsider at his dad's. But you have no obligation to provide for your ex-brother-in-law's kids. Honestly, just stall until he's 18 and can move in with you, or at least move out from that hole. They push the issue. Just say, I'll try. Or, if you want to put it plainly, I'm not their aunt. I'm X's aunt, and I'm paying for these things as a favor to my sister. X is responsible and very polite. If I felt the other children were worthy of those things, maybe it'd be different. But they have demonstrated that they don't treat things with respect, and spending money on them is a waste. But I wouldn't say that for a while. So stall, until your nephew is old enough to not need his parents' permission, and you don't need to deal with his dad's rudeness. The nerve of this guy. My ex-husband and I were the cliché couple. We started dating in high school, and I went to community college, whereas he got into a pretty good college in a city. He proposed to me on his graduation day, and we got married 3 months later. He was hired on campus while he was still studying and made really good money. He was a loving husband, and when I got pregnant, he supported me when I wanted to stay home and watch the baby. I was being paid very less at my job. My best friend Anna, my husband, I, and 2 others were really close in high school, and we stayed close. Anna was extremely smart and went to Ivy League school. By the time I was pregnant, all 5 of us was living in the same city, and literally we were living our life to the fullest. Husband and I were the only ones in a relationship, and Anna didn't do serious relationships. At most, her boyfriends lasted for 4 months maximum. She works very hard and has often said that she doesn't have time for relationships. Our time as a group started to be cut short when the baby came. Husband got a promotion at his job, which increased his time in the office a lot. Since I was staying at home, I did all the house chores and took care of the baby. Even on the weekends, he never once offered to help. Any complaints from me was met with, if it is that tough for you, hire someone to clean the house 3 days a week. I get it, he wanted to rest the weekend and his new position was stressful. But he literally stopped doing anything for me and started spending time with friends alone. I started to get depressed and started resenting him. We started fighting over all the small things. One fight led to another, and he wanted a separation. To him, I don't appreciate him. I enjoy the money, but will not compromise. Asking him to cancel any plans he has to spend time with me and our son was the deal breaker for him. To him, spending Sunday morning to evening with our son was enough to be a father. I will admit, I made the divorce as tough as possible for him. He pays child support even before I ask him, and has even given me a small amount of money in another account that I can use if I ever need it, or for our son. He is a good financial provider, but not a good husband or father. I have sole custody of my son. All through this, Anna refused to take sides. She acknowledged that I was hurt, but I was also hurting him back. In the middle of divorce, she moved across the country. Things got even worse after our divorce. X canceled visits with my son because of work, was often late to pick him up. Almost a year ago, he moved across the country for a bigger position. He wanted to have my son with him for Christmas and summer. Slowly, as I was getting used to the distance, Anna called me and said she and my ex have started dating. I told her I felt betrayed and hurt. Both of them swore nothing happened while we were married, and only started dating when my ex moved near her. Silly me though, knowing Anna this will only last a couple of months, and said I will be okay. I had to watch them buy a house together. They had my son there for Christmas and he loved it. I feel ashamed that I wanted him to say he hated living there, but apparently husband was there all the days with him, and the 3 of them had a blast. All the time we were married, other than our honeymoon, we never went on a vacation. Anna and my ex went to France for 10 days, and I just found out that he proposed to her in France. I want to get over this feeling of inadequacy. Why didn't he do anything like this with me? Why wasn't I worth any effort? My 2 other friends keep telling me that Anna is his perfect fit, and someday I will find mine. How do I go on with this hallowed feeling in my chest? I make minimum wages, and as much as I try, it is hard to stop comparing myself to my best friend, who I am beginning to hate. I would cease all contact with your friend. Stay off social media. Fade out with any close friends of hers that like to give you updates. Only stay in contact with your child's father. You aren't doing this to punish her, but to give yourself peace of mind. When my good friend was better than me at everything, started dating my ex, and got engaged, I had to remove myself from the situation. How can you deal with that kind of pressure? You can't really. Have as little to do with them as possible. Cut her out completely. Only when she doesn't exist in your world can you stop comparing yourself to her. Out of sight, out of mind. You can't begin to heal a wound if you're still exposed to the fire. First, she ain't your best friend. She is your kid's stepmother now. You need to stay civil and cordial, but no need to do anything friend-like. Second, if you don't enjoy your current income situation, you have the power to change that. It can be difficult for you, but others have done it, and so can you. Lastly, try to focus not only on your kid, but on yourself as well. Take time to do what you want, whether it's a hobby or something that betters yourself mentally or physically. Eventually, you'll be looking to find a partner in life again, and it's best if you are happy with yourself when that time comes. We've been married a year. We live together for 2. We have no kids together. She doesn't have to work, so doesn't. She has about $1 to $2K a month coming in through a farm she owns. As far as I'm concerned, that's her mad money. She does pay $250 a month child support with that. She does not contribute financially to the needs of the household or to my financial needs, and never has. I don't ask that of her, and we don't need her to. I live in a $1.2 million home I own. I pay all the bills, including all her bills for medical, insurance, car insurance, emergencies, legal expenses due to ex-husband attacks, which have been extensive, etc. I pay for essentially everything but her child support. She has a credit card she can use for whatever she wants: hair salons, gas, expenses, food, whatever. The only thing I ask is that charges over $300 are discussed so I can plan. I pay the credit card off in full each month to avoid interest. I need to know these things. I pay for all vacations, of which there are 3 to 4 a year. She receives multiple gifts, car, jewelry, etc. She also travels for a week or so every other month back to her hometown to hang out with her kids and/or vacation. At least half of that time is a solo vacation or vacation with friends. I pay for all those expenses: flights, hotel, car rental, and all living, entertaining expenses. Typically about $1,000 every other month. I spend about 60 hours a week commuting and working. I make well into 6 figures. I share it with her freely, as described above. She is upset if she sees the word dependent in tax documents, insurance forms, or if I happen to make the mistake of uttering the words. It's happened, usually around tax time. It causes fights. She wants to be my equal. How exactly, she doesn't elaborate. She doesn't financially contribute to the household equally, and she is financially dependent on me. So she's not financially equal and likely never will be. So equal how? She's appreciated. I thank her daily and constantly for the homemaking she does. She does most of the laundry, meal making, house cleaning. I do most of the yard chores, 2 acres, all of the home and car upkeep, which consumes most of my weekends. She doesn't work as many hours homemaking as I do working, so we don't work equally. She could get a job and contribute more if she wanted to, but she doesn't want to, and I don't need her to, so that choice has been made by her. How exactly am I supposed to make her my equal? I can't measure equality by financial or time contribution. If I do, she's not equal. How else do I measure it? I respect her. I love her. I provide for her freely and without guilt-tripping her. All I want is for her to be happy, but she isn't. How do I fix this? It does not make sense to me. I would be quite content to be married to a woman that provided me the opportunity to live this lifestyle. My wife, however, is not content. What am I doing wrong? This may be more about her feeling like she needs you, but you don't need her. I mean, what is her big input in your life together? I'm sure you love and appreciate her from your post, but this may be her in herself being insecure. You sound pretty perfect, and unfortunately, that can make people compare themselves and build complexes rather than feel lucky. Maybe you could give her more responsibility over things you need doing that couldn't just be covered by a maid. Maybe show a bit of vulnerability and show her you are not perfect. Compliment her in ways that make her feel special. In a "what would I do without you?" or "only you know how to make me happy like this" kind of way. I may be totally off here, but that is my best bet. Otherwise, it might just be that she is a spoiled brat and hates that she is. You mentioned that she had children that don't live with her. Maybe she feels like she has slightly neglected the mother role and instead is in more of a child role with you providing for her. Again, I may be totally off, as I do not know the full background with her children, but just possible suggestions. She needs to first describe what being equal means to her, basic communication. If she can't figure it out, she needs to pick up a book or get a life coach or therapist or just some good old self-reflection.